Peace, family. Come check on in. This is Fleur Room coming to you today to discuss a new topic of discussion. Come in, check in, and we'll go into the shadows. Yesterday, I actually made a video on my Fleur Room cipher. Big up to the cipher group. Really doing the work, just really getting it. Big up to them. We were discussing, shadows showing up, and sometimes us, self-awareness, not even being self-aware that those shadows exist within us. So I thought, many asked if I make a video based on how I confront my shadows. So here it is. Come on and hey, family. Big up to y'all. I see everybody's checking in. Hey, Carl. Hey, Sal. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Dwayne. Hey, Raina. Hey, that girl. Hey, Carl. There's Carl again. Lynn. Hey, Lynn. Hey, Joy. Joy. I love that song. Hey, Tuxedo. Hey, my family. Oh, you guys are all on. Oh, everybody's checking in for the shadows. So listen, family. Let's get it in. I'll wait until like 100. It looks like we're going to hit 100 really quickly. I was going to wait until we hit the 100 mark, and when we do, we could start up. I hope everyone's having a magnificent Monday. The energies are really, really high right now, and you should be feeling a little bit of the Matrix madness, as I've been feeling. I'm trying to, trying to dilute it, take it in, transmute it, what have you. So, oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so I think we're at the mark. All right, family, let's get into the shadows. So, when we're talking about shadows, the shadow in itself, peace, everyone, peace. Okay, so the shadows in itself, I'm going to read what the shadow aspect of yourself is so you get an idea of what it is. Shadows generally are aspects of yourself that you're unaware of, things, your idiosyncrasies, things that you struggle with, but I'll give you the definitive term and the definition for shadow. The shadow self is an archetype that forms part of the unconscious mind and is composed of repressed ideas, instincts, impulses, weaknesses, desires, perversities, and those hidden fears. Okay? And it's the dark side of the psyche, representing the wildness, the chaos, and the unknown. That is the shadow. That's the shadow's aspect of ourselves. We all have that. And as I discussed in the group yesterday, I was seeing, listen, I had confronted a shadow last week, and, even with my level of consciousness and my frequency, I still have my own idiosyncrasies that pop in to be dealt with, healed, and released. And in order to go into the higher realms, in the higher paradigm, in whatever you consider to be 5D and above, you are going to have to be releasing those aspects of yourself that do not serve your higher purpose. And those are everything that have been imprinted on you while you've been engaged in the matrix. Archetype is a part of self, an aspect of one that is usually an imprint, like it's a type, it's almost like a genetic quality, or I wouldn't say genetic. It's a imprint of a kind of something. You know what I mean? Because archetype could be archetype of female archetype, a type of female archetype. There's all different types of archetypes. Okay, this is a shadow type. Shadow self is a type of archetype. There's different types of archetypes. I know it's so. It's a little little redundant to say it over and over. Anyway, so many of you are being confronted with your shadow right now, and like I said, even with myself, when I think I'm good, when I think I'm in the clear, bam, in the face comes a shadow. And I've learned, listen, I will give you an aspect of myself because I humble myself to this platform to let you know the real. I would never let you think I'm perfect. I've told you I am the most perfectly imperfect, perfect person that you can meet, and I acknowledge it. And I tell you, never put me on a pedestal, because I am that. I will make mistakes just like you, and I am not above you. and beyond you. I'm still at the level of learning. And that being said, when I had shadows previously, and it could be a various amount. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Big up Jeannie, Jeannie from New York. Big up to you. I'm going to give you a couple examples of how I dealt with my own shadows and how they showed up previously. I'm going to give you some examples of my own issues with my shadow when in my previous, in my youth, and how I progressed and evolved, and how I deal with shadows now. Now, back in the days, I would say in my late teens, early 20s, whenever a shadow popped up, which was probably more often, aspects of myself, how do shadows show up? Usually they show up in people, places, and things. They show up in people that agitate you. They'll show up in your environment. Shadows will show up. Remember, your mind creates your matter. So whatever is in your consciousness, that's why I say within comes without. Whatever is in here, whatever you're dealing with, will show up in your matrix. This is a interactive video game, interactive hologram, meaning that thoughts are things. You create your own environment based on your own consciousness. That's why when you raise your level of consciousness, your outer world clears up. And I've told you that before. Like when you look in a mirror and your hair is messy, I'm not going to fix the mirror. I'm going to fix my hair, and then it will show up neater in my reflection. That's all it is. Okay, so when I was younger, I would have issues because I came from a very obscure culture, which many of you know, a Creole culture. There wasn't many people from Martinique or St. Lucia at the time. I had a weird accent. I looked a little different than the majority of people when I was younger. And I struggled with self-worth, self-esteem. And I had fantastic parents, but they didn't really teach me aspects of dealing with the outer world that much, because they were just different. They were reared differently in islands where they didn't have social patterns that are very similar to what they were rearing their daughter and sons in. So whenever I would have struggles with self, I wouldn't necessarily say it to everyone, but I would have people tease me or be really cruel to me. I remember one time, it's tragic, and I want to share this with you because I want to show you how aspects. Oh my gosh. As I'm talking about shadows, one of the shadows that I dealt with is calling me on the phone. It's all relative. I'm serious. As I'm talking about it, you see, as I'm bringing it up, a shadow's showing up. So let's go back. I want to go back to that shadow previously before I deal with the new shadow that I thought I dealt with last week, but it's showing up on the phone. They're texting me. This is so fun. This is no joke. This is how shadows show up. You bring it up, it shows up in your paradigm. Anyway, so when I was younger, I used to struggle with self-esteem just because I didn't feel confident. I didn't speak properly. I didn't speak like my peers. I looked a lot different. I wore glasses. And I used to get teased vehemently. And it had to do with my self-esteem and how I felt about self. So I would manifest beings around me who treated me. Hold on one second, family. I think I have a guest coming soon. Oh, I'm sorry. I hate when I make videos and there's interaction. They don't want this message to come out. Let me get it out. So when I was teased and cruelty, there was one time I was in a classroom and I had lots of friends. Mind you, even though I was teased, I was always very social. I came from a very social family. You were social butterflies. I came from a mother who was the teacher. My father was very social. They were the friendliest, fun people in the world, I have to say. Big up to my Matrix family. They were phenomenal. They liked to dance a lot. They loved to entertain and have parties just like I am now. So I had a good social system to be reared in. I just struggled with self-esteem. And everything outside of me reminded me of how I felt about myself. So I remember going to an art, I think it was an art class. It was an art class, and I may have been, I don't know, 14. Okay. I think I was 14 at the time, or maybe 15. I'm not sure. Roughly in that area. I went to a class, and I remember just talking to my other friends on the other side of the room, and I went to go sit down in my seat because I knew the teacher was coming in. So you chat before class, before the teacher actually comes in your room. Then I went to go sit down, and one of the students had pulled my chair pulled my chair from underneath me, and I fell and hit my head on the back of the table really, really bad, and I fell, almost broke my back, and I was so stunned and mortified. I didn't even cry. I just was like, first of all, for the being to do that, how cruel. And later, that being actually I'll talk about that later, but I fell on the floor. Everyone was laughing around me, except my friends, of course. They helped me up. And almost everyone in the classroom of course, it was a boy. Not to say girls don't do cruel things like that, but it was a boy who later obsessed with me later on in life. That's what tells you how weird this matrix is. Mortified me, and I got up, and I didn't cry. I just was embarrassed. I went through the class in pain because I probably got some sort of back issue from that. I don't even remember. And I remember I had new sneakers at the time. They were LA Gear. And it was a big deal. My daddy just bought me some LA Gear sneakers. I'm telling you, this is all relative. These LA Gears were cute. They were like white sneakers with pink. I don't know if you guys know. LA Gear was a big sneaker brand back in the days. And I don't know if they are anymore. And it was so cute. It was white and pink. And when I fell, it was all scuffed up. It was brand new. They were all scuffed up and dirty. I just was in nothing. And I remember that day just not talking much, being sad, and going home and not really dealing with it. Not dealing with how they treated me, not confronting these demons who did that to me, just kind of being in a pacifist kind of mode, and not really addressing why that was okay, why that being did that to me, why it was okay, why I didn't deal with it. All aspects. That was a shadow showing up. What that being did was perpetuate my own feelings about self, and did something overtly to remind me of my self-esteem issues. Do you see what I mean? So later on in life, let's fast forward, I've learned to confront my shadows when they show up, meaning that before it gets to the point where the environment is attacking me, or people are attacking me, or things are showing up to remind me of my issues with a particular shadow. That's one shadow. That's an insecurity shadow of myself, of how I felt about my culture, how I felt about myself physically, how I felt about me speaking English. It was my own issues showing up on the outside. So as I got older, I tend to become a little more verbal. As you know, many of you know me now. I tend to become more verbal, and I meet a group of friends who are much more overtly not aggressive, but much more assertive than I am. And it's the universe's way to give you teachers and those guides to help you, teach you how to build self-esteem or whatever you struggle with. Listen, the environment will always give you the tools necessary to fix yourself. It always will. You have to accept it, though. I accepted these new friends. They were very good to me still to this day. Big up to Jenny, my homegirl, Christina, Clara. These were my homegirls who were more verbal than I was. They looked like me. They also came from a Dominicano family, so they spoke another language, so they understood my struggle with language, and they helped me to gain some sense of self and self-respect. And because they looked like me, I could build my self-esteem because I saw how happy and confident they were, and they were very kind to me, and they're very good with my family. That helped to build my self-esteem, and also they were supportive. And because you see how the universe brought these wonderful guides, these wonderful angels in my life at the time to assist me in gaining an aspect of self-esteem, and to look through others to see how they engage in the world, so that I can, address those insecurities in myself. Anyway, later on, obviously, you see, I don't have a problem checking people, and obviously my self-esteem has been risen. It's rising. It's risen to a point where I think it's a lot healthier as opposed to before. And why I share that story with you in my youth is because it's very important that you acknowledge your sense of self, your shadows, aspects of yourself that you have not dealt with. These were things as a child I could not see clearly, and I didn't have parents who necessarily had the tools to teach me how to deal with aspects of myself or to build an aspect of myself. They were unaware because I didn't share that with them. What if you don't have support? That's what, Ali, when you don't have support, the universe will send support. Remember, my support didn't necessarily come from my mother and father, who I love. They love me unconditionally at home, but it came from a group of friends that the universe brought into my world that I accepted, and through them, they were angels to me at the time, guides, that allotted me to see aspects of myself, also to be able to see others engage in the world that was healthier, with healthier self-esteem, and also they were more assertive than I was. Not aggressive, assertive. And I saw aspects of myself through them. The universe, like I said, the universe will always bring you tools. It's just like playing a game, a video game, for all our video game nistas and nistos. It will always bring you tools. You just have to accept them. And once you have those tools, then it will show you, you're never going to be thrown out to the sharks without having aspects to heal yourself. So that's one aspect of the things that I dealt with when I was in my youth. Now, let's take Fleur Brew now. 2017, November. I've done the work. I've fasted. I've purged. I've healed. I've acknowledged. I've forgiven. I've come to the point in 2017 where I feel more confident. I feel more self-aware. I'm highly self-aware of my idiosyncrasies, things that may be struggles, and I get over it, heal it, confront it. So I'm good. So I'm thinking I'm coasting for my ascension. I'm feeling good. The energy's coming. I'm taking them in. I'm purging what's not good for me, what is not helpful for my environment. I'm self-acknowledging anything that's coming up in my environment that I should deal with, and then a shadow shows up. And it's a shadow that shows up that has to do with my MK Ultra, my mind control, one of the imprints of the matrix that many of us of a certain age were imprinted with. That princess that it's called the there's a name for it. It's called the what is it called? The damsel in distress. Oh no, it's called the oh gosh, there's a name for it. I'm sorry. It's called the princess. It's called something. I'm sorry. I wish the name was on my the statement was in my head previously. It's like being rescued by a male. Like it's where we're imprinted. So people from 19, I think even the 60s and 50s, I think they had something different. From 70s to 80s and beginning of 90s have this imprint. It's a MK Ultra. It's one of the MK Ultra imprints on the females. It's like the damsel in distress. It's kind of like damsel in distress, but it's kind of like the knight in shining armor syndrome. It's when we have this ideology imprinted in us that we need, that require a male to make us feel like we are worthy. We're required to be a wife to a male in order to and be a mother and live that whole systematic matrix ideology of the white picket fence. Oh, look at this beautiful bug. I'm sorry, this is the prettiest bug out here. I've never seen it before. Anyway, I get excited when I see bugs, especially different bugs. Yeah, Prince Charming complex. Thank you, New Age. Thank you. It's like a Prince Charming complex. I was imprinted along with a lot of Nistas from, I think, 70s to the 90s, beginning of the 90s. The ones after mid-90s and so on, they don't have that same MK Ultra special. We have it. So in our imprint, we have this ideology. Yes, Cinderella complex. Thank you, Anu. We have this ideology that we require to be in a relationship with a male, married, with a white picket fence and children, all in one nutshell. And when we are not in that, we are non-valid, or I'm not saying this is true, but that's part of that imprint. That's part of that programming. I have it in me. Even though I've dealt with me, I still have it in my subconscious. And because I come from a family who's, I come from a little bit of an astute family. So my family, everybody's married. My father just passed in last December, but they were married for nearly 60 years. My aunt and uncles are married for 50 to 70 years. My brother's married. All my family members are in that quote unquote that matrix, that nest of things. And because of that, I still have that in me. And it doesn't show up all the time, but it shows up during holidays. Okay? Why does it show up? Because it's a shadow. I don't know that it exists because I'm living fabulous, right? I mate with who I would like to mate with. You know, I generally like one particular mate. I'm not a super mating person. I love whoever I like and I choose. I told you my mating season starts in spring. My mating season starts in spring. I'm serious. And it ends usually in October. Usually I have, if it's a male that I've been around for a long time, I usually mate with him and stay with him for however the duration of time. It could be for years. It could be for a moment in time. I generally do that. So, but during the holidays, I haven't been a part of a partnership since I got rid of I shed my Nazi. Big up to the Nazi. That's who was calling. The shadow was calling. So I'm okay with it. So I thought, right? So the holidays, I don't celebrate holidays, but I party. You already know. I don't care what it is. I don't care what they call it. I'm not part of the whole Matrix, quote unquote Christmas. I celebrate whatever there's a time to party and celebrate. Fleur Bruna is there. I don't care what it is. I don't ever enjoy what the imprint is, what this holiday is. I enjoy the base of family, friends, celebration, gatherings. I love it. If you were on my Delgadas page, you saw us rocking. We party like rock stars, and we're island people. So the food was phenomenal, and island people make the best vegetarian food. The vegetarian food was sick. There was meat there, but the vegetarian food we had. I'm sorry, I'm sidebarring. You know, we party. Any of you would want to come to our parties anyway. But at the party, there's a whole bunch of husbands, wives. It's beautiful, a family system. They're very quote unquote bougie. You know, I come from an astute family. They do well, and all the mates are calling me right now. Anyway, so as I'm going, before I go, I'm fine. I'm good to go, and then my shadow shows up, and my shadow shows up in my ex. Remember, I was married for over 16 years, remember, and I have a Nazi that I shed, and I'm okay to shed him because he is a Nazi and he is anti-female. He is a very interesting being, which I'm grateful. Big up to the Nazi. He's off abusing others. But he shows up because we've been together very long. So he shows up and he's my shadow. Remember, I'm unaware. I'm living a fabulous life. I've mated. I have, someone that I like a lot that's in my life. And then he's talking to me as we're on the line. And I think I'm good, but he's not going to join me for my family system. My other mate, and my ex-mate shows up. He starts calling, starts inquiring. That's my shadow, because he's a reminder of what my failure in marriage. You see what I mean? The failure in marriage. I don't think of it as a failure, so I didn't think. But my shadow is my aspect of myself that I've not resolved. I didn't think I had an issue with that. I didn't think I thought I resolved everything. I did the fasting. I did the not having sex for years. I kept myself goddess ready. I was clear and clean. And then all of a sudden, that shadow shows up, and it's the Nazi, reminding me of the pain, reminding me also of the union of having parties with a husband, having all these wonderful times with family, and a system of being part of that. In that Cinderella, having my shining knight who was always taking care of everything, doing everything. We were part of a family system. Then when he reminds me of my previous life, it also reminds me of the failed aspect of it. That's a shadow showing up. He said, who said get on a spaceship? I wish I could have got on a spaceship at the time. So when the shadow shows up, I had to think to myself, okay, this is showing up. Who is somebody? What's going on over here? Okay, sorry. The shadow shows up. I look at it. I see it for what it is. I see it as a shadow. I was like, oh wow, I thought I dealt with this. Okay, it's making me feel a certain way. So I know that it's an aspect of my shadow showing up, something that I didn't know existed. I thought I resolved. Apparently I didn't, and I need to confront it immediately. Immediately. So I say to myself, I have to think, because I don't want to be reactive. Usually when you get confronted by your shadow, you usually go into fight, flight kind of mode, or you start cursing them out. especially the holidays, cursing people out, getting reactive, getting defensive, lowering your field, your frequency, because that'll lower your frequency, going in that low vibe mode. And I said, okay, he's here, he's showing up. What is this? It's making me feel a certain way. Okay, I have to see where I need to resolve something about myself. I have to see where there's some healing, or where there's an aspect that I have not resolved, this feeling of feeling like I'm a failure and not succeeding in the quote unquote the imprint of the princess, the prince and the princess mode. I saw him. I saw what he was doing. Because he likes to do it, especially during the holidays. Probably because he feels the same way. He loves me from so long. He probably feels a connection to me, so he likes to harass me during that time to kind of, because he probably feels the same way. It's his projection. So I see what he's doing. It's not him. It's all about me. I say to myself, I give myself a mantra. I'm worthy. I'm living in my divine space and divine line of existence. I have a mantra. I say it to myself. I look at myself in the mirror and think of how much gratitude I give to having my beautiful daughters, my beautiful home, how I'm grateful that I have my health, my good health. I'm grateful for my mother still living when my father's passed. I'm grateful for my family, to be able to go to a home and have such wonderful company and family to engage with. I'm grateful for a mate that has chosen to partake with me, even in the madness of the things that I do, and that my world that I'm engaged in. I went to gratitude and a mantra to fill my heart space up. And as soon as I did, my whole environment, my whole feeling about self, everything that was being triggered by this being showing up with my shadow, automatically started to dissipate. Even when the being was contacting me, their whole demeanor changed. I changed myself. I changed the energy field in myself. I transmuted that pain, that sadness, that feeling of rejection or loss, and I transmuted it. And as soon as I transmuted that shadow, I confronted it. I didn't ignore it. I didn't say it didn't exist. I didn't try to deny it. I saw it for what it was. I was aware of what it was. I acknowledged what it was. And then I pulled in and said, what about myself do I need to do to heal this? And I went into gratitude mode. As soon as I did it, my whole frequency changed. It raised up. I had the most phenomenal time with my family. We danced like rock stars. My ex-Nazi actually came a little nicer and sweeter, sent me a really nice text that night, spoke to some of my people, which was nice, and it transmuted the situation, and it shifted on. He's attempting to come back again because maybe some aspects of, still remnants of that shadow still there, but it's dissipating. Do you see what I mean? So I give you these personal, listen, I'm not going, that's why I tell you these personal things, because I don't ever want you to think I'm perfect, that I'm sitting here high in a cloud wearing red glasses looking at ETs all day, drinking my coffee, and it's all good in the hood. It is a lot of times, and I appreciate when it is, but I want to let you know that shadows will exist. And right now, you are going through your graduation, your spiritual final exam. And many of you during your spiritual final exam will be confronted with aspects of complexion and religion. People dealing with religion and complexion are the number one issues in your final exam that you're going to be tested on, and also relationships with yourself. Because when you don't have a healthy relationship with self, it will show up in people outside of you that will agitate you and show you your idiosyncrasies, show you your fears, show your repressed emotions that you've not dealt with, and it will come out as whatever you haven't resolved on the outside of you. It's all a test. But a lot of you are still in your final exam spiritually, and we're right around the corner for graduation. I'm serious. We're right around the corner. That's why that's why everything's coming out about pedophiles. Why do you think all these shadows are showing up? All the truths are coming out. It's here. Everything's showing up because you can't change what you don't acknowledge. When it shows up, you have to resolve it, fix it. You can't resolve what you don't acknowledge. It has to show up. You have to see it. You have to pull back, see what you can do to heal it, transmute self, because you can't change anything outside of yourself. You can only change yourself. You know, when someone goes crazy, you can't necessarily change them, but you can change how you react to them. You can control that aspect. So it's all Saturn returning to Capricorn. Yes. We have a couple of things going on astrologically too. We also are in a retrograde. Saturn's returning. It's Sag. Remember, it's Sag season. Remember, I'm a Sagittarius. December 5th. I'm excited. Sag season's coming in. So a lot of that resolvement needs to happen for me also to heal, because Saturn is leaving my sign. And once it fully leaves my sign in January, I believe in January, when it hits Capricorn fully, I will be freed from the lessons of the 3 years of lessons, 3.5 years of lessons that I've gotten from Saturn. So I get to party like a rock star once again. So I wanted to share this, and I wanted to say, if you're being confronted by your shadows, confront them. It doesn't make sense to run away from them, because they're just going to come around in a different package, a different time, in a different way, and it's going to come more difficult. So it's best to take those pop quizzes and finish your final exam and coast through it, rather than trying to be resist aspects of yourself. Being self-aware is very necessary at this time. And not everybody's here for ascension. I will say that not everybody's here for ascension. Some people are here to experience what it looks like for others to ascend. Some people are here just as spectators, and there are many, the 144,000. I always like to mention that. I think it's just a concept of those, for that quantity of beings, that energy, going through that process. But for those who are going through the ascension process, it's very necessary for you to, pass your final exam, and everybody's getting it right now. I've heard so many of our family who are going through final exams right now, spiritual exams. Some of them are doing well. Some of them are having difficulty. Listen, take your time with your spiritual exam. Reevaluate yourself. Look at yourself. Look at aspects of yourself. Shadows show up. What's a shadow? When someone shows up and agitating you, that's yourself. That's an aspect of yourself projecting a being to show you a reflection of yourself. If someone shows up beautiful to you, that's an aspect of yourself showing up. When I changed aspects of myself, I had more beautiful beings. The type of mates that I was meeting after I changed and transmuted myself were beautiful. I meet males that are so lovely. They treat me well. They honor me. They treasure my time. I do. And they're not perfect. I won't say that. There are aspects of my mating that come up, that some of my idiosyncrasies come up because I haven't resolved certain things. But my mates have changed based on myself changing. My friendships with others have changed based on how I've changed. So when I raised my level, my ante, raised your ante. When I raised my ante is when beings of that same quality and frequency started to come in my field of awareness, and I'm so appreciative of that. And that's including all of you. If you notice, even in our circle, a lot of the beings that were causing a lot of rift, they left our circle, and a lot of the beings who were matching our frequency stepped in, or just match. We all match, and there's something to that. Birds of a feather flock together. My mother had a term. Listen, big up to my Matrix mom. My Matrix mom used to say such profound things, but she didn't know it, and I didn't know it. But she said birds of a feather flock together. It's so silly, because many of you heard that. It's so true. Your vibe catches your tribe. That's all it is. And you don't want to judge other people who have, there's other beings. You could tell those beings, you could tell who someone is by who they surround themselves around. That's how I know. Even with mating, if you meet a gentleman and all of the men around him are upstanding, I have a brother, an older brother, who has such phenomenal people around him. He's very much like me, very different in certain ways. He's very corporate, very stushy, bougie. It's a little different. I'm like I appreciate being the black sheep of the family, but I'm like the rogue. But he's surrounded by, even though he's not in the same quote-unquote belief system, same system as I am, we come from the same genealogy. We've been raised by really loving parents. So even though he's in that religious sect, he doesn't promote it to me, but he's so loving. Like, they donate their time and money, him and his wife, they donate their time and money to shelters. I do that, and I don't go to church like that. You know what I mean? I don't go to church. They do that. that's what I'm saying. I don't judge people with religion, because some of us, however we get to the ascension process, we're going to take different roads, but we have the same goal. You know what I mean? He goes and they're always doing events for others. They're very giving of their time. Like, you know, his wife is a agriculturalista like myself, so she cut a lot of her native plants from South Florida, and I brought them home. I'm big into, like, you know, soursop leaves. I'm gonna make some soursop tea, because I'm actually going on not a fast, but I'm going raw for a month, like a month or two. I'm going raw for a while, so I just need fresh, you know, steep teas and things like that. I don't do teas that are hot, but I'll do like soursop tea, you know, soursop teas and things like that, which is a good anti-carcinogen. She cut off a lot of her limbs for me, and they're from a very different belief system, right? But they do really positive things. They do. And they like to party like rock stars like me in a positive way with family. So I'm just saying, that's why you shouldn't judge people, even if they come from different sects, as long as they're matching your frequency. You know, that's what I'm saying. When we judge people on complexion, I know people who don't look like me who act like me. I know people who don't look like me who have the same type of vibration as me, who are compassionate towards animals, who are very compassionate towards nature, who will stand up for the trees and advocate for, you know, Mother Gaia, Mother Tiamat, so that people are not okay to do tragic things especially in front of us, when it comes to our trees and our plants. So I'm just saying, we match frequencies. That's why I don't always go on how people look, because I can get someone who looks exactly like me, who does the most heinous things in opposition of everything at my core. So you understand? So, you know, be mindful that not all that looks like you is you. Not all people are from the same cloth. We have to, you know, you have to also know that. But deal with your shadows, family. This is your final spiritual exam. Are you going to make it, or are you going to break it? This is make or break. Follow your first mind. Deal with your shadows. Whatever shows up to you, deal with it. Don't put it under the rug. Yes, it may hurt. Maybe you were molested and hurt by a parent or a family member, and they keep showing up, or people keep bringing it up. Confront it. Deal with it. Don't run away from it. It's an aspect of yourself that has to be dealt with. Resolve it. Say, okay, this person has hurt me. They have hurt my core. How do I deal with this? I need to acknowledge that this bothers me. I need to acknowledge that hurt my soul. It fractured me, and I need to heal it. What about that hurt me? Where did it hurt? Get a mantra that you say to yourself that builds yourself up, that talks about wherever that hurt, wherever that pain came from, and it resolves that. And then bring in gratitude. Be grateful for the people who do love you, who don't harm you. Be grateful for having your wits in your mind, even though something so tragic happened to you. Do that in order to fully kind of resolve that in yourself. And as soon as you resolve whatever shadow shows up, they will disappear. My Nazi will one day totally disappear. Once I have full resolvement of that shadow that perpetually shows up every once in a while, once you resolve that shadow, it disappears and disintegrates. It goes away. It's like, oh, you got it, pass the test, on to the next. They will go away. That's why some people have a problem with relationships ending. When your relationship ends, it means you got it. Whatever lesson was learned from that relationship, don't hold on to the relationship. You got the lesson. You passed the test. Keep it moving. Don't hold on to that person. Don't hold on to those beings. It's unnecessary. You learned the lesson. You want to hold on. It's like, do you want to stay in second grade forever? When you graduated from high school, do you want to go back to high school? You want to move on to the higher route? You may not want to go to college. Maybe you want to go and do something else, a trade. But do you want to go back to 10th grade after you've graduated 12th grade? That makes no sense. So when you've graduated from a level of resolvement with a shadow, because anything that was painful or created some form of trauma, those are usually shadows that show up, especially if they're showing up with non-resolvement. Deal with it. Face it. Tell someone how you feel. Don't come from a space of hurt and pain, because then you're gonna lower your field. Don't curse them out. Say what, in many of you, if it's a person that's showing up, what you did caused harm to my heart. It changed who I became. It made me not trust people because of something you did. Some people can write a letter to the person and you don't have to mail it to them, but maybe you should keep that letter as a reminder of you letting go of whatever, telling them. Silence is banter for injustice. If someone you feel has hurt your heart and you've not resolved that pain or that abuse, write a letter to them, telling them how that made you feel, how that changed who you were, how that made your life difficult in certain ways, how that hindered how you had relationships with future mates, how it made you maybe not want children, or made you not be a good parent because you were hurt and you didn't want to have children, but you ended up doing it anyway, and you don't know how to be a parent without that pain still being present. Show it, bring it to light, resolve it, write that letter, even if it's bogus, even if it's to the emotion, and release it. Some of the Wiccans and the occultists like to burn it after they're done, or bury it. Bury the letter. Burn the letter. Okay? Or tell it to them. Whatever you want. But resolve it and deal with it. This is your final spiritual exam. Make it through. Fake it till you make it. Release it. Release it. It's not necessary. It is a part of your spiritual lesson. You chose that lesson for a good reason. You don't know where that showed up. That shadow could be showing up from something you didn't resolve in a past life, and a past situation that you may not even be self-aware of. And I want to, hold on. Hold on. I want to make sure, okay. What was I going to say? As far as shadows showing up that you should embrace. Okay, now there's something else that does occur. And I can give you a little bit of help with that. Because some of us have these shadows that show up. And you see them a lot of times in other people, which you should try to recognize in yourself. And they usually come up as maybe perversions. And I want to use that very loosely, okay? Because what's perverse to one could be quite normality to another, okay? So let's say that. I want to put my PR. There are certain parts of your shadow that we repress and we kind of mute, or we don't want to acknowledge, okay? So shadows show up, things that need to be resolved, but there's aspects of yourself that are part of your core that just are. Okay, so with Flurbrune, I have a shadow that's a part of myself. It is who I am, but it doesn't, you would never know it, but I'm going to share it with you. It's okay for me to share it because I'm a woman of a certain age. There's not much to hide at this point. I tell you, I'm imperfect. So, one aspect of myself that would be considered, it's not really a perversion. I like certain type of males. I have a type, archetype of male. I really do. I have an archetype of male that I've always had. It's always been a part of me. It probably is maybe something that could have came from my youth, of maybe a male that showed up in a certain way, and it became part of my usually whoever you get with first sexually when you're in your youth, usually they hold, it's almost like it imprints in you, and that becomes a type for you. Especially if it was a long-term or it was a loving relationship, you tend to hold that type. One of my shadows is the type of male that I desire, that I have a fondness for, that I only, it's the same type every single time. And if it's not that type, I don't really engage with him. So if, I'm very set in that way, and I'm okay with it because I accept that shadow aspect of myself. And the type of male I like is much more aggressive. He's not necessarily assertive. He can be aggressive. He's sweet natured. He's like my father, but he's aggressive, meaning that he will cut your head off if you talk any ish to him. He has a violent tendency, and he's a warrior. I like warriors, but warriors in a very low, not low, but it's a challenging frequency. Many of you do. Many of the sea stars, and this also could be an imprint from my programming, from that princess kind of that damsel in distress kind of thing. I remember I was like a very nerdy young lady, like the good girl who likes the bad boys. It's probably that imprinting, but I'm okay with that shadow aspect of myself because it serves me well so long as I hold a high frequency. That shadow type, archetype of male that I desire or like to mate with does show up in a higher field way, meaning that they'll come up warrior like just the way I like it. But they will hold like really loving aspects, like be beautiful father figures, just loving creatures, very adoring, very attentive sexually. Those are the type of males I like, but that's a shadow that shows up. Now, when I'm lower in my frequency, that shadow will show up as an aggressive male who's abusive to women, who doesn't like women, who's repressive to women and oppresses them, and likes to subjugate women, like a classic misogynist, like my Nazi. See what I said? It's a shadow of myself. So because that is a shadow aspect of myself, of my type of mating, my mating, how I mate, when I raise my level and frequency to a high level, I do get a similar male, but in a more positive way. I get a warrior who would fight for the cause, who will go renegade on anybody who's hurting children and animals. I will get that warrior who's not afraid to to take somebody out if they're going against the laws of nature, but is still loving. But at the same point, they're loving and compassionate and sexually healthy and attentive. So that's what I'm saying. So I have a shadow aspect of myself. I don't want to go too deep into the sexual aspect. Big up to my mate, all my mates, the ones post-Nazi. They've been some of the most phenomenal men I've ever encountered, and they are attentive in a way that's healthy and nurturing, but they're warriors. Don't get it twisted. At the end of the day, when people mess with me, my warriors come for anybody who comes for me. That's why I sit comfortably in my car. I sit comfortably because I know that I have those type of wonderful males that are males that I'm attracted to, that are higher field males that are very protective as well. Okay, so I just wanted to share that a little bit. It's a shadow. It's a little bit of a perversity too, because it's coming from that programming, that, remember that princess in distress kind of thing. Remember, I was a good girl liking bad boys, same thing, and many of my homegirls, big up to my homegirls, lunars, indigenous, some of us like bad boys, and it's not bad boys, it's a warrior quality. But when you're not healthy, it'll show up as dudes and Tims, loud music, drug dealers, lower field men, men who go and shoot other men and fight and are abusive and talk to you like trash. That's how it shows up in the lower way. But that's a different kind. That's the same field, just a lower field male. When you start raising your frequency, yes, I can't say that word. Yes, blissfully said it. F boys. Yes, that's what it is. But it can be healthy when you raise your frequency, because you'll get those same type of warriors, but they'll be warriors for light, warriors for a cause, but they will love you. They will never speak. My Taurus, big up to my Taurus. I have a Leo now, but big up to my Taurus. My Taurus at the time, he would never curse at me. He never would curse. I remember cursing him out one time. I'm a little feisty. I'm a triple Sag. If you didn't know, I can be real feisty, and I can, with mates, with males, I can be a little aggressive. That's why I'm okay to be with a warrior, because they can handle me. But my warrior one time, I was cursing. Yes, I curse, just not on screen because it's not appropriate, but I was cursing at him for some silly thing, and not to be facetious, but playing with him, being a little, doing a little, like a kitty cat thing. And he simply said, like, why would you say those things, those words to me? I would never say them to you. He made me feel so bad. I questioned. I said, you know what? You're right. I apologize. I'm sorry. That's not right. I don't mean to offend you. I was playing with you, but that's not right. Those words are not kind, and it wasn't coming from a space of, hate, but I should use, I won't use that type of language again with you. And it was wonderful that he stated it so eloquently that he didn't like me cursing at him, and that's something that he didn't do to me. It was inappropriate, but he stated it. I love that, how he's so, that's my Taurus. Now, if you like Tauruses are fabulous lovers. They're animals, though. Big up to the Tauruses who were in the house. Y'all like food and sex. That's a generalization. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but I notice a lot of Tauruses are like that. Taurus is just they're very family oriented. They're slow and steady though. And that's where my Taurus, where we probably couldn't go any further, because I'm a fire sign and I want to do it. If I say it, I want to be about it. So big up to the Tauruses. Yeah, look at all you Tauruses in the house. I love you Tauruses. Y'all made for good family. Like if I was having children again, I would have children. Tauruses are wonderful fathers and mothers. Y'all are very family oriented. You're very protective, good lovers, like food. Y'all are great to snuggle with. Yes, I love you, Tauruses. Big up to the Tauruses in the house. 1+3. What up, Keisha? Keisha, I gotta call you. Keisha, I gotta talk to you after I get off this. Keisha, you busy? I know I'm talking to Keisha up here. 1+3. Yeah. So but I had to get another fire sign because I'm fire, and sometimes I need to get a little more blazing, especially at this time. So family, we about to graduate. Some of us already finished our final exams. Get your final exams, get it on and popping. Do your exams, acknowledge, redeem it, deal with it, and keep it moving. Let it release itself. Don't bag lady. Remember that song by Erykah Badu? Bag lady, you gonna hurt your back carrying all those bags like that. I'm not gonna sing it because I can't sing. So I'm just saying, let's get to graduation, people. I'm trying to get to the golden age just like this in this avatar. I'm trying to get there so we could party in Brazil. And I'm serious. When people say, are you serious? If you know me, some of you know me already. You already know how I get down. I'm all about the celebration. I'll do the work though, so I can get to celebration a little quicker. And I suggest you do the same. Let's work it out. Work your shadows out. Whatever you dealt with, if you were hurt, abused, what have you, if somebody's talking smack to you and you don't like it, or maybe you're the abuser. Maybe you need to acknowledge that you're abusive with your dirty mouth. Maybe you're the one who has issues with your dirty potty mouth. Maybe you're the one who needs to resolve why you're aggressive to people. Who hurt you? Hurt people hurt people. People who hurt people come from hurt people. So find out what about you have to resolve, because you could be the abuser. We always state it like somebody else is the abuser. Sometimes we're the abuser. Like my Taurus told me, he was like, he didn't like me having a potty mouth to him. I was playing with him, but it was inappropriate. He didn't like it, and I found out, you know what, you're right. That's not right. Where did I learn to do that? I had to resolve that. I was the one with the issue. So start being self-aware. Self-awareness, my family. Let me read some of my comments. Misery demands company. You know what? You're absolutely right. Misery demands company. Let's you're an abuser, I'm a victim. Yeah, we switch roles. Sometimes if you stay long enough with someone, you switch roles. I've seen 360s. If you stay long enough with someone, you get somebody who used to be a victim, they end up being an abuser, and the other person ends up being a victim. That's weird. It doesn't happen as much anymore because we're going through that quickening, but you'll see that sometimes. So why Brazil? Listen, not everybody wants to go to Brazil. I'm going. I'm just inviting some of my family to go because I want to be with people who are like-minded and so on. Brazil is just one of the places. It's located in a placement that I would like during the pole shift. There are some things there that I am waiting for when I get there. Look at Brazil. You know how my galactic connection is. So there's a reason why I want to go to Brazil. I don't say everybody wants to go to Brazil. I extend the invitation to those who match my frequency. I'm creating a community there. Whoever wants to come who matches is on and popping. And I want to not just see you on screen. Say, I'm a taste, touch, and feel kind of person. As a Sag, you earth signs know that too. I like to taste, touch, and feel. I want to go outside my door in the morning, and I want to go to my neighbor and know that one of my neighbors, she grows plums, or we want to talk in the morning chat. I want to go out my back door at night and know that it's one of you guys and we're chit-chatting and talking about, I don't know, old things. I want to go in the morning and see our little ones playing together and know that because I'm the parent that I am, you are too, because we match frequencies. I want to live in that kind of environment with the same type of village of people who have the same goals and same frequency as myself, but acknowledge that they're not going to be just exactly the same visually or even the same type of gender. I'm okay with that. I'm going to live in that world. I'm not going to say what I'm going to want to do. I'm going to live that world. I'm going to create that world. I created my own bubble outside the matrix, and now I'm creating a bigger one in another world with beings like myself, because when I created the world outside the matrix, I was alone, and that's when I looked for all of you. When I found you, I no longer am going to lose you. I'm going to bring you with me. How about that? It's a little selfish, but it is what it is. Anyway, I'm just saying, I don't want to do anything. I'm going to do things. That's just what I am going to do. Whether I live there with a few of you or a whole bunch of you, it's going to be that way. And again, someone said, how are you going to make sure beings don't come that are terrible or whatever the case is? I said it does. If they don't match the frequency, they're not going to be able to come anyway. You know how I rock. Birds of a feather flock together. They won't make it to Brazil with us if they don't match the frequency. It doesn't matter what they try to do. If they're on this video obsessing on where I'm going to be, so they're going to be where they're supposed to be, and we're going to be where we're going to be. Matching frequencies so that when the pole shift comes, we enjoy fresh water from the stream. We will have electricity that we have from the earth, wind, solar, and air power. We will have our own fresh goods that we grow daily. We will never have to go outsource to anything else. We will be able to rear our children in safety. We will have hopefully midwives and doulas on site. We will have our elders there with us. Many people going to Jamaica. Wherever you go where you match. Coffee? Oh yeah. Well, that's another thing. Big up to my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law is growing her coffee tree. So she gave me some ideas because I'm going to grow mine. So she already has her coffee tree. So I'm going to be growing mine. Yes, we'll have coffee. Freshly brewed ourselves, and we will sun dry our coffee beans. How about that? We will have drum circles. Our babies will be free. Mothers can nurse freely. You can find a divine mate there. We'll have healthy males, healthy females. I mean, like I said, when will the pole shift? Pole shift's supposed to pop off in 7 years, roughly 7.5 years. I give myself that amount of time to get everything set up. Okay, so, like I said, I don't want to put fear in you. I'm going for an excursion. I'm going for an adventure. So running is not necessary. When we're in alignment with everything, we're going to be exactly where we should be at the time that everything pops off. Okay, the pole shift will happen because it's a earthbound thing that she does every cycle. She clears herself and resets the cycle. I told you we're going into another cycle. We already started the new cycle, and with every cycle there's a cataclysm, and it's really a cleanse. It's a pole shift that shifts, shifts the magnetic field shifts, and when it does, we go in the inverted direction. So the Nile River will go in another direction. All the deserts will probably be water again. I just know that we have to be between a certain part of the equator to be, with less of the residuals of the pole shift. But there's going to be a lot of radiation too. And that's why they're perpetuating all this mating with melanated people. It's because of the sun and the radiation, because people with a lot of melanin can handle the radiation a little easier. That's why the prince is marrying a woman of color. It's really for survival. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody wants to survive. So that's the only reason why you see this whole perpetuation, this big melanin dominant thing, because melanin is worth more than gold in the market right now. It doesn't make anyone with melanin better. It just makes it, just like a resource. It makes it more purposeful. Well, that's what's happening. So, it's a merging of the different beings. At one point in the last cycle, it was getting the melanin out. And this cycle, it's getting the melanin back in. That's all it is. It is what it is. It's that's why I'm saying we can't get mad at people of different complexions, because there's going to be another cycle. Hopefully, we're going to be out of here. Anybody going to Ascension, you won't be back for any of the cycles afterwards. You'll be on higher realms, 5D and above, 11D, wherever you're going to be. You're not going to be here during those other cycles. Those are for the other beings who are not here for Ascension right now. And you know who the beings who are not here for Ascension, they're caught up in the Matrix. They're watching the football games every weekend. Not to say there's not anyone going on Ascension who's watching football, but I'm just saying they're going by the Matrix, step-by-step program, materialism, to a dire, unhealthy level, a lack of self-awareness. Just they are the drones of the Matrix. Mind control, yeah. What would you call white beings with black eyes? Aliens. White beings with black eyes, those are aliens. Those are probably hybrids or some sort of biobots. Anytime you see black-eyed beings, those are either some sort of ET. Those are hybrids. Zetas do that. Zetas, big up to the Zeta, the Zetas. The hybrids of the Zetas have those black eyes too, because that the black part of the eye takes up most of the inside of the eye. But sometimes those are androids of some sort. genetically modified grays. Grays are genetically modified, most of them, not all. Oh God. my mate, a very important date. Okay. I know one. He's one of the coolest. Yeah, I don't want to judge people with black eyes. There's a whole bunch. Listen, family. Someone asked me who's the most important. Listen, there's a whole bunch of beings here on this planet, and if you want the F411, is that they've always been here. Someone said, when did they get here? They've always been here. You are the one who's probably newer, depending on your gene pool, to the planet. Many people are genetically modified anyway. Many of the beings that are contacting some of you are from the same, they're the ones who modified you or homogenized your gene pool. So there are all kinds of beings. That's why I don't judge the beings anymore. There are beings that are more, more benevolent, and there's ones who are more malevolent. It just depends. And one could be benevolent to one group of you and be malevolent to another. That's what I'm saying. We can't judge it. You don't know. Someone asked me on this show, big up to, I forgot her name, Princess something. I did a show in Finland. I think it was in Finland. I do shows in Europe sometimes. They asked me, why is it that I'm in contact with the andromenons, like with dreadlock, copper, melanin dominant carbon females? And I said, why? So they were asking me and saying, why are they contacting me and why do they look like me, similar to me? I said, do you ask the Pelagian people or the people who say they're contactees of the tall whites who are actually lunar, who look like the tall whites? Do you ask them why they're in contact with those beings? It's obvious that those beings are in contact with their own blood groups, or their own bloodlines. They look like the beings that they homogenize. So wouldn't it make sense that if I'm in contact with galactic beings, they would look like, because I'm part of whatever, if they're in contact with me in interest, that means that I'm part of something that they've seeded here. Would make sense that I look like the beings in contact with me. This is where I have issues when color comes up. When other beings who knowingly are in contact with beings that look like them, that's what they say, they would never ask another lunar while you're in contact with tall whites if they're white. But why would you ask a brown copper indigenous woman such as myself why I would be in contact with andromenons who look just like me? Obviously they seeded me. And the same with the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki bloodline, especially the Nagas serpent. The Nagas serpent line is chocolate. They are carbon beings. They are in contact with other carbon, dark, indigenous, Moors, whatever. They're in contact with their own. Whoever you seeded you is going to be in contact with you. Stop asking me why aren't andromenons contact, like some of the men ask, why aren't andromenons contacting them? Because they're females and they're not down with males like that. That's all. The beings that seed you will contact you. And that you'll generally have the same look or appearance to them. Not always, but generally. Because they've seeded you. So, as above, so below. If they seeded you, you will have a lot of the remnants of who they are. That's all. The Seminoles. As far as I know, the Cherokee, the Aborigine, the Iroquois, the Blackfoot, many of the Native American lines, those are all Pelagians. It is the Aboriginals who have the actual documents, thousands of years of information from the Aboriginals who say that the Pelagians are part of, they seeded them. So look at the Aboriginal people, the original Aboriginal people who are very, very dark with straighter hair, and look at the Cherokee, look at the Iroquois, look at the Blackfoot. All those beings have been seeded to my knowledge, and that comes from the information. Now, the real information from real contactees of the Galactic, they actually have proof that they are in contact. They've been in contact, and their lineage is connected to the Pelagians. Remember, I didn't believe in the Pelagians because I said I know they don't look like what this being perpetuated on, on all the internet. They don't look like that because that's why it didn't resonate with me, because they look like the Aboriginals and the Cherokees. So look at the indigenous Aboriginals and Cherokees, how they looked, who they were. That's who the Pelagians are connected to, all those indigenous bloodlines. Now, are they connected to others? Maybe. But I know that's who they seeded. So that's who the Pelagians look like. The Pelagians look like dark-skinned Europeans. That's how they look. They've got very dark skin, like the Aboriginals, wider noses, not Europeans, I'm sorry, wider noses, thicker features, or very straight linear features, but just straighter black, straighter black hair. As far as I know, that's who's connected to the Pelagians. And that's not me saying it, that's the Aborigines with their proof. They're the ones who have the information connected to their gene pool, and also link it to the group in the North Americas who are their kin. It's beautiful. Beautiful intel. Big up to the Aboriginals from Australia and New Zealand. Thank you for sharing that intel. Thank you for sharing that a long time. Okay. So, and it's not to say that there's not, but I know that the seeded ones, now listen, people can be in contact with beings, but generally if you're in contact with beings, the beings will look like you. Okay, to my knowledge. Now, there are beings here that homogenize people that come from different areas, and they may look more like something else. But like I said, as above, so below. Generally, when you're contacted by beings, they generally will look like the beings that they seeded, because they're splicing some of their genealogy, mixing it with some of the already homogenized beings here mixed with reptilian on the earth surface. So aspects of themselves will show up in those type of beings that they seeded. So when the Andromedans are coming for me, they look like me. The difference is that they have dreadlocks, and that's just more of a hair texture. But they look as dark as like a beautiful carbon color, but generally they have like this undertone of copper. They look very similar to me. That's how I know who the contactees of the Andromedans are. Very similar type. The girls look like this. They tend to look like this, top heavy. They tend to have my skin, tend to have my lips. Andromedans, and when some of the star seeds find me, I look at them and hear them, I already know they're Andromedan seeded. But it's bugged. You will know an Andromedan contactee and a seed from them, because they all look alike. We all have a similar look. Same with a lot of the Anunnaki. Anunnaki have a similar look. Okay? But there's different facets of the Anunnaki too. I have to say the Nagas serpent line has more, and the Draconians. The Draconian bloodline has a lot of the same similar look. Okay, so I don't want to get into complexions and so on, because we got to talk about species, because really the complexions mean absolutely nothing. We got to talk about species. And with the Pelagians, yes, you can have lighter versions of the Pelagians. I'm just saying the original Pelagian seeds were, now mind you, the original Pelagian seeds were, they look like the Aboriginals, the original Aboriginals, and the Cherokee. Now, of course, bloodlines mix, because there were people who colonized and moved to those areas. So a lot of Europeans say, well, I'm part of the star seed of the Pelagians. You very much could be, because you're mixed with the beings, the original bloodline of those original Aborigine or natives that were here. That's all. I don't want to take away from our lunars saying they're mixed with the Pelagians. I'm not going to quantify what you are, but yes, you can be mixed with them based on the fact that bloodlines mix with many other different facets. But the Draconians generally will be all mostly European. Draconians, now they're mixing with the darker shade beings from the Anunnaki line. They're not mixing with anybody else. Listen, the queen will only mix, her bloodline will only mix with the originators of the Anunnaki bloodline. If that prince is marrying a melanated woman, she guarantee you go back to her. I bet you find her family from somewhere in Eastern Africa or Yemen, part of those 12 tribes. I'm telling you, the Draconians they're not mixing, they're mixing purposefully, because we're changing cycles and the planet's changing environmentally. You will only be able to live on the surface if you have a certain quantity of melanin. That's just what it is. It's for safety reasons. But when they're merging with certain type of brown, they ain't mixing with all brown people. They're mixing with Anunnaki bloodline. I know that for a fact. So whatever, I forgot which prince is mixing with some brown person. And remember, the Draconian bloodline used to be, the Anunnaki used to be, it's a whole bunch of merging going on. So that's why, I hate getting into complexions, because it's really nothing more than survival at this point. Everybody wants to survive on the planet. So they just change. They change skins. Like, even with transference of consciousness, many of those beings, like the Rockefellers who supposedly died, they didn't die. Watch the movie Get Out. Their consciousness was transferred into a brown being, and it was probably one of these hip-hop people, these moguls. I don't even watch the movie Get Out. I didn't see it until later, that whole what do you call it, the transference of consciousness, ETs and galactic beings have always done that. The cloning is not new. They've always cloned beings. The reason why most of us have issues is because beings here in the matrix, the lower field humans that are here, have clone beings for lower reasons, for real, for lower reasons. You know what I mean? So that's what that's about. That's mostly what that's about. But beings have always cloned, all beings, galactic beings clone. It's not as serious as you think. It's only dirty because it's here, and there's a lot of low type of beings who clone for different reasons, for negative reasons. But best believe Rockefeller and all them, they didn't die. Look at who's passed away. What's the guy from the Playboy Bunny? What's his name? Hugh Hefner. I bet you he had his consciousness transferred. I bet you any amount of money. I bet you he transferred into one of these brown hip hop moguls that have all this money. That was probably one of the agreements, is that they can get all this wealth if they allow their bodies to be utilized later for transference of consciousness, so that these other beings can prolong their lives. Or they may have had clones. Clones don't survive that long. I don't think they probably had clones do it. I think they transfer themselves into actual beings, humans that have agreed, or there's some sort of gene pool thing that they can do that with, makes them more susceptible. That's just my take. I could be wrong. Whoever, I know they're doing it, but I don't know why they're doing it in certain type of beings. Clones don't last that long, to my knowledge. Maybe they have higher forms of cloning when they're doing that kind of transference. I don't know. So I'm just saying, yeah, I said it. Wait, who said that? Wait a second. Yes, peace, XOX. I agree. I'm saying these babies are coming in with no souls, empty cases, so that they can have easy transference in. You're right on point with that. I can't say it out loud, but if anybody sees XOX, I agree with that one. It could be a possibility. It's not sad. It's all relative. That's why I'm saying be self-aware. We're past fourth and gold. This is your time to get the heck out of Dodge. Listen, if not for your anybody else, do it for yourself. This is not where you want to be. The pole shift gets rid of the grid. Why people are worried about ascension or concern or want to get to ascension is because that's when the grid opens up. That's the one time where there's an opening for us to get past the grid, which keeps souls in through the recycling process of reincarnation through the dark side of the moon. In order for that to open, there's like a little break during the pole shift, during the time when the gravitational field stops, when the planet stops rotating. That's where you get that 3 days of darkness, or 3 days a day. When it stops and it starts to go in inversion, there's a little opening where people can get out and not be trapped in this matrix. That's the only time. That's what ascension is. And that's why I'm saying it's on and popping. 7 years is not far away. We want to get out of here. You want to stay here in this madness? Listen, those people who chosen or can't, everybody gets to ascension at one point. You eventually get there. So I don't want to make it seem like anybody's better, because we've all witnessed other people ascend in other previous lives, and then now it's our time. Some of us are volunteers. We've already ascended, but we're bringing our homies home. Some of you are our homies for the volunteers who've come here, who are not for ascension, who've already ascended, who are breaking some of you out of jail. We're breaking you out of cell block. We're breaking you out of cell block 9. I got jokes for days. Anyway, family, I don't like to keep you. What are you saying? My dad is soulless. You could come from soul. Listen, people get rid of their souls by their low field actions. Girls for sex in your city. What? See, this is what we talk about. You see this being on here? This is what I'm talking about. Block. Okay. Michelle Gonzalez. This is what I'm talking about. It's girls for sex. You see these type of insipidous parasites and vampiric beings on this. They're all over. There's parasites all in this realm. Raise your frequency. Let's get out of here, and let's celebrate while we do it. Biobots. Don't worry about other people. How about this? Let's be concerned about ourselves. Let's be self-aware. Let's make a goal, family, that you will only work on self. If you see madness outside of you, you gotta work on self. Remember I told you, when my hair is messy, right? My hair is messy right now. Am I gonna fix the mirror? No, I'm not. I'm gonna fix my hair, right? And then my reflection will show it up. Don't worry about other people. Don't look at anything outside of yourself. You can't control what's outside, but you can control yourself, aspects of yourself. Work on self. Let's get it together. Listen, final exams, I'm wishing you well. Do your test, face your shadows. I'm pulling for you. I'm nearly finished with my spiritual work. It will always be more spiritual work, but in this level, I'm already dealing with some shadows. I'm going to try to work out some more shadows. I'm going to try to get rid of all my baggage, because where we're going, we can't bring our bags with us. We got to go clean and naked. Naked and not afraid. We got to go naked with just ourselves. So let's get rid of our garbage. Let's clear up shop, and let's keep it moving. All right? So I'm so grateful to have you come and join me today to talk about shadows. I wish you well. I'm actually going to go and take care of some nonsense. I really have a free day today. 12,000 years of worth of shadows. Yeah, Narwhal is no joke. I agree. Yeah, let's clear up the shop. Let's sweep out the dirt, clear out underneath the rug, clear your rugs, start dusting out your rugs. Look underneath your rugs. Some of you have some money underneath the rugs. You guys got to clear up a shop. All of us. I don't say you. Me too. Because the shadow was trying to call me when I'm making this video. I'm okay with it though. Love and light, right? Anyway, remember to always sit in gratitude. If ever you're confused and you feel someone's a trigger, or this will give you a tool. Listen, today, someone may trigger you, or an environment may trigger you, some noise may trigger you, a situation may trigger you. Promise yourself, not me, promise yourself that you will pull in and give gratitude to where you are in your life that's good, that you recognize. Give gratitude to the things that you value, even the smallest thing. I'm grateful that my pants buckled today. I'm serious. Bring yourself into gratitude. I guarantee, listen to you, family. I'm a woman of a certain age. I've been there, done that. I just did it last week. Do that. I promise you, whatever's outside of you will change. Promise you. It may be to the lesser or greater degree, depending on how much you really pull in that gratitude and pull in a mantra that helps you to clear that and acknowledge it. But I promise you it will change. Okay? So let's get it on and pop, and I want to go celebrate. Anyway, I love you, family. Have a wonderful day, Monday. It's Sag season. Sages, it's on and popping. Enjoy Sag season. We've got our arrows pointed and ready. I'm enjoying, whenever Sag season comes, I enjoy the whole time. All right, so I love you, family. Have a masterful day, and we'll chat again. Peace. If I could turn this off. I can't even turn the screen off.